So lift your head, His love's your story. Walk in courage, walk in glory. Keep the faith, keep the fire flurry. Strain for the journey.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Strength for the Journey. I'm your host, Stephanie Hankins. Welcome back. Go ahead and grab your chair and your water and let's get started. Today I want to talk about loneliness versus being alone. A lot of you are starting out the new year and maybe you are feeling a little bit alone. I first want to let you know that there is nothing wrong with you. You are not strange. You are not odd. And you are really not alone. You know, a lot of times we can be surrounded by a crowd and still feel like we are the only person in the room. Have you ever felt like that? I absolutely have felt like that. Let's talk a little bit about that. So first of all, you have to know that loneliness is typically created from a situation. Let's look at our first scripture I want to show you, and it's in Genesis chapter 2, verses 18. And I'm paraphrasing, but it says, it's not good for man to be alone. Therefore, I will make you a helpmate. And so God was saying this to Adam. And I think that we don't always look at the fullness of that scripture. That scripture isn't just limited to God making a helpmate or a wife for Adam. But when God said it's not good to be alone, He meant male or female. He meant He created us to be in relationships, friendships, marriages, family members, family to family. He created the family, and the family represents relationships. And a lot of times we go through periods of time in our life where we feel like we're alone, and it causes an emotion of loneliness. Loneliness can show up even when your life looks full. There are times where you have a smile on your face, you are attentive, you are where you're supposed to be, you are helping this person, you're on this committee. You are there at the event, and yet inward, you can still feel lonely. Why? Sometimes it could be because you feel like you're giving. You have all this responsibility, yet you really don't see that coming back in. And so when you look around and you're needing someone, they're not there. And so you attribute that to being lonely. If you feel that way, you don't have to stay that way. One thing that as you get older, you realize people come, people go. I just want to talk, or I just want to spend some time with another person. But because you have been let down so many times by people, you just put up the wall and say, forget it. You can be in a relationship, a marriage, and feel lonely. Just because there's another person in proximity, or just because you may dwell with the person, doesn't mean that you can't have feelings of loneliness. See, loneliness is different from being alone. Alone is singleness. You may be alone in a room. That means no one else is with you. You may be alone as in unmarried or not in an exclusive relationship. Okay, that is being alone. But loneliness is an emotionally based position. Okay, and a lot of times we become lonely because we have put up so many walls of protection around ourselves from past traumas. Even when we think we're making the safest and best choices, that relationship can cause us pain. It can cause us harm. It can cause us great disappointment. And so we begin to protect ourselves. And we put up wall after wall after wall so that we can heal from the hurt and the disappointment of that situation. The problem is, after a period of time, those walls become unhealthy. Those walls actually hinder us from moving forward and erasing that feeling of loneliness and inviting people into our space. See, naturally, there is a time, and it is okay for you to protect yourself. It is okay for you to draw back so that you can heal from past harms, from traumas. Allow yourself to process the situation, learn from the situation. But it's not healthy for you to close yourself in and never step out. That's where loneliness steps in. It becomes a habit. And then, yes, you can carry this feeling of loneliness. And it can look in many, many different shapes and forms. But basically, you feel as if there is not another person out there who cares about you, who desires to help you, who wants good things for you, who has time for you, who's available when you really need it, so you just don't even reach out at all. You stay behind the doors of your home, or you stay secluded, or you don't try to venture out, participate in any activities because you just don't feel like opening up, because you think that if you open up, then you possibly could get hurt again. I'm telling you, you are not the only one who has experienced a season of loneliness. You don't have to carry life by yourself. Loneliness is not your identity. It's actually a signal that says, hey, I need to connect to someone, to something. And it's time for me to pull some of these walls down that I've built out of previous hurt, disappointment, or trauma. There's nothing wrong with you if you're in a season of loneliness. It just means that you are now ready to start taking baby steps and integrating back into relationships. Small steps where you can feel safe until you're ready to fully immerse yourself back wholeheartedly. Suggestions like maybe going to an event that typically you would say no to, but you keep getting invited. How about this time you actually go? That's a huge step. How about you pick up the phone and call someone who you haven't talked to in a while? When you see them, you say, hey, I'm going to give you a call, but you never do. How about you pick up that phone and just say, hey, I just wanted to check on you and see how you're doing. You would be amazed how that other person might be in your same situation. And by you reaching out, you've actually inspired them to break their loneliness as well. It's time for the scripture of the day. Our scripture of the day comes from 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. And it says, My grace is sufficient for
So
you,
lift your head,
for my
His love's
power
your
is made
story.
perfect
Walk
in
courage,
weakness.
walk in glory. Keep the faith, keep the So lift your head, His love's your story. Walk in courage, walk in glory. Keep the faith, keep the fire flurry. Strain for the journey.